Alright, hey everyone, we are in the final stretches of painting this character. I have put together a few colors on my palette, namely white, yellow ochre, crimson, and burnt sienna, because I didn't have any burnt ochre in this set of colors, cheap colors that I bought. I mean, it was only $6 for, it was $6 for 12 tubes, so you can't expect a whole lot out of it. I mean, normally, like, good paint is like, well, right now, $6 to $30 a tube. So to get 12, you might as well just work with what you've got. So I'm going to mix a little bit of this yellow ochre here with some crimson. Probably need more yellow ochre. A tiny bit of burnt sienna and some white, and just try to dial it in to get the hue and value that I'm looking for. I don't know if that's enough, but let's just see. I don't know the covering power of this thing yet. I'm going to start on his arm. It's pretty transparent. It's mostly watery. If I add more white to it, it'll probably do the trick. But if I add too much, well, I just added too much burnt sienna. But let me see if I can get it back with some more yellow ochre and red. Adding white definitely adds more covering power to this mess. All right, I'm just going to go with that for now. I may have to do another pass. I want to cover up the mistakes where I touch the color of his clothing to his skin. I'm also aware that I can't quite get in every nook and cranny from this angle without altering everything. If you really want good covering power to your paint, use gesso instead of white. You can mix that acrylic gesso with your paint. Like, get it in a small bottle. That'll do a better job. It's kind of tricky to get in here, like the inside of his arm, and show it to you at the same time. Very tricky. Someone has joined us. Who was it? Mai? Okay. I think I need a new battery for my mouse. It doesn't want to seem to obey me. Yeah, I'll figure that out later. It's doing a good enough job covering him up, covering up his hands. It's tricky to get on the inside. Don't want to touch his leg. In this instance, it's like with clothing, it's good to try to get that color as close as you can to straight out of the tube. In my case, the gray pretty much matches my colors to my illustration. That's what really matters to me. I don't know if I want to stain his fingers more red, because blood pools at the extremities of the flesh. That's why your nose and your ears turn red when you get hot. So his fingers would also logically be more red. Like one of my students in the other class, I believe, tried to do his illustration, his sculpture in parts, like have the have him be separate and then put him together like a transformer or Voltron or something. I thought that was a good idea. I don't think he was able to pull it off as successfully as he would have liked. But that's kind of how it goes. You sort of have to recognize what the problem is and then deal with it. Alright, so I got his arm. Now I got to do his face. And here's another thing I intend to do. I'm going to make it so that there's a bit of a mix of some dirt on him, because he's a mechanic, right? He's working on these machines. It's causing him to be dirty and a bit of a mess. Yeah, I changed the hue of what I did by adding more. Usually when you mix up paint, you want to do it in large enough batches so that you can cover everything you need. Because trying to mix up the exact mixture that you had, like say I did the hands, right? If I run out, I got to mix up the same exact percentages. And there's little other factors here that are coming into play. Like my acrylic palette is a paper towel full of water. And the purpose of that is to keep the paint wet so I can continue working. But it'll also spread the paint out a bit so I don't have as much as I like to think that I have. So that's something that needs to be addressed. And the brush now is getting too fat to get into the little nooks and crannies in his inside his collar. So I'm going to switch to a different brush that's slightly smaller. This one. I may go back in and paint his nose and his ears a little bit more red than I have it now. I should have made him larger so that I wouldn't have to fight all this detail at this tiny size. But my oven is also a consideration, because I don't know. I know how tall the height of the oven is if I put something on the very bottom, but there's no guarantee that I won't run into issues. I just wanted to have plenty of clearance for him. In fact, I was actually planning to put him on the barbecue as opposed to the gas oven in the kitchen. Yeah, I could have made him bigger. My other plan was to just do the head by itself so that I could work larger and give it all the detail that I wanted to give it. When I normally paint, I paint in a very watercolory, transparent style, and that's really not working for me with this. Just a bad habit of being cheap and trying not to use up all my paint and make it last. Ultimately, your artwork kind of suffers for it. I had a teacher who he would take your whole tube of paint and squeeze it, all of it out on your palette. Even if there was no color in the scene, just get used to using up your paint. Just like a toothpaste or something. I don't need more. Need more white. This is very relaxing. If I'm being honest with myself. Trying to get all the nooks and crannies on his face. Trying to cover up areas that are a bit too transparent from the first pass. And I need to let it dry so that I can create some light staining of his ears and his nose to make him, and his fingers to make him just a tiny bit more red. How many of you already started on the painting part of your sculpture? One, two so far? Well, I wanted to work on this just so that we were working kind of at the same pace and speed. And you can see me do it in front of you, like there's no secret magic I'm doing off screen, other than when it gets kind of long. But I'm not trying to hide anything from any of you here. I mean, the more you do this, the better you get. It's really that simple. And remember, his limbs don't have to be pure, clean, pristine, because he's a mechanic. My character, he's supposed to be dirty. Alright, I'm going to let that dry for a bit, and then I'm going to come back to it. I'm going to make his nose and fingers red and try to stain his body with some dirty acrylic, and then wipe it off so that he looks like he looks like a proper grease monkey. So I'm going to pause.